Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I'm your host, Mark Hill, and along for the ride this time, we have Dean Chambers only this week. How you doing, Dean?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. And we have a special guest with us. We have the number 2 guy in the league, the guy that runs all the games for us, the one that we can hear from if we've had something messed up with your plays and profiles, like I have done many a times, is Richard Colacino. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Mark. How are you?
Doing great.
How you
Doing great. Getting ready for the holiday season as we're coming up to Christmas time. So, again, our host, Mitch, is not with us. He is taking some well-deserved time off with his family. So, he left us a little note when it comes to his game, so I have to relay his message. So if you guys are all ready, we are going to start off with the Week 12 games. First game on the list, we have the Washington Redskins going in to play the New York Giants, and they ended up walking out of that stadium with the victory, winning 31-21. Since we have Richard here as our guest, we're going to have Richard start this off. Rich, so you ran the game, you saw it. What did you think?
I thought it was a great opportunity for the Giants to really jump into that playoff race, but Washington was too much. They controlled the clock for 35 minutes. Kyler Murray, 3 touchdowns, 68%. It was too much for the Giants.
Too much firepower. Okay. Dean.
Yeah, I think Sean came prepared for this game, but I think Jerry was even more prepared. As I watched this game, I kind of flipped back to thinking like Jerry's Redskins almost kind of looked like, old school Redskins when Joe Gibbs coached the team. I mean, solid running game, very efficient passing game, just solid all around effort.
Okay. Next one, Chicago going into Minnesota. Here's another one. Chicago walked away with a victory, 35-13. Dean, start us off.
I think the key to this game was the second game that Trey Lance started at quarterback. I think he performed much more as you would expect a quarterback playing for Justin's team would perform, and that made the difference. And they easily won this game 35-13. Okay,
Richard?
I liked the Cardinals' defense in this game. They did bend a little bit. Vikings had, I think, 340 yards of offense. But the Cardinals, 3 sacks, 5 knockdowns, a couple of interceptions, and they just overwhelmed Minnesota. Minnesota is just not a great offensive team, and they just could not hold back the Cardinals.
Okay, you are not holding back today. Okay, let it rip. All right, next one on the list.
Hey, before you go, the big story is quarterback Trey Lance tore ligaments and he's out 8 weeks.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
2 quarterbacks down for the Cardinals. They lost Darnold, and I think he's still got 5 weeks left, and now Lance 8 weeks. So the Cardinals are going to be looking at the free agent market to find QB2 this coming week.
Yeah.
Do they even have a third quarterback on the roster?
No. Right now they just have one healthy quarterback, and that's the guy they signed. Didn't they traded for someone last week with Jacksonville, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they did.
So this is going to be a bit of a challenge for the Cardinals going forward to secure. They're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to have some issues at quarterback the rest of the way.
Yeah,
Mason Rudolph, another one of the many failed former Kansas City quarterbacks.
Yeah, he's going to step up now, and he's going to have to lead them into the playoffs.
So they're going back to picking quarterbacks off the Kansas City trash heap, huh?
Basically, yeah.
Basically,
he's going to be stepping up to play starting quarterback against the coach that he used to play for.
Ooh, that's on.
Well, you know all his secrets. You'll be ready for him, right?
There you go. That's going to be a good game to watch. Definitely. Okay, next game we have San Francisco going into Detroit, and the Niners walking away with a victory, 34-15. Richard, we're going to start you off on this one.
This game was all about the 49ers rushing attack, 221 yards rushing. Mack with 119, averaging 13 a clip, couple of touchdowns, controlled the clock. The Lions they're done. Their season is finished. He knows it. He's probably already looking at the 2042 draft. This was all about the 49ers. As Dean said, going back to what the 49ers do best, which is run the ball.
Okay. Yep, this is true. Dean.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You know, the 49ers played, as we call it, Charlie football, solid running game. I'll point out one other thing. 8 of 11 on third down conversions. That's huge as well.
They had great balance in this game, too. The 49ers, a couple of 12 first downs rushing, 15 passing. When a team has got that kind of balance, it's going to be tough to stop.
And 71% completions in the passing, 24 out of 34. That's very solid.
Burrow looked pretty good.
Yep, overall, they were clicking at all three phases, definitely. Okay, next game, we have Anaheim going into Green Bay and another road team going in and taking care of business, winning that game 23-20. Dean.
Yeah, this is a very close game, and Anaheim, got it done, kicking the field goal late in the game. It's not the result that Green Bay wanted, and certainly is not helping their odds of making it to postseason from the NFC West.
Okay, Richard.
Yeah, both teams are basically playing out the string. As Dean said, very close game. Dobbs was fairly efficient, 30 out of 41. Treadwell for Green Bay had a big game, but it just wasn't enough. And so the game ended, I believe, on a game-winning field goal with 21 seconds left. But neither team is going anyplace, so nothing more to say.
Before we go to the next game, what I've noticed so far in all these games that we've announced, the road team is winning. So this might be a bad omen as I go through the rest of them. Let's see what's next. Oh, that one too. So New York Jets went down to Jacksonville. I'm sure you guys already know what happened on this one. But the Jets ended up walking away with a victory, 37-17. Richard, let's start with you.
Well, neither team ran the ball very well. Neither team turned it over. So it comes down to Derek Carr, 28 of 39, 4 touchdowns. He also ran for a touchdown. He converted a couple of 2-point conversions. And Captain Kirk just couldn't keep up. It was close till halftime, and then the Jets took over.
Ding.
Yeah, I noticed he went back to Captain Kirk at quarterback. I think he's just trying some different things, after the free agent quarterback he had started. And obviously Jacksonville's struggling this season, but maybe with some time to reassess during the offseason, maybe they'll come back strong next season.
Okay, so they're in the stage of just retooling and getting ready for the next season. Next game.
In that position enough times myself.
Yep, so have I. I know that feeling. Next game. Oh, home team won. Indianapolis going into New England, and New England taking that game 20-12. Richard, start with you.
This game was all about the Patriots running the ball, although not for a ton of yards. I think they had 134 yards, only a 3.7 average, but they did a good job of holding the ball. 37 minutes of possession, which is huge. The other team basically doesn't have the ball. Mariota with a couple of touchdowns. Patriots defense played well, 4 sacks, 5 knockdowns, and they basically turned over the Colts on a fumble for a big touchdown, which and then they just never looked back. The Patriots holding the ball for almost 38 minutes was huge.
Yep. Dean.
Yeah, I think the Patriots looked over and saw that Indianapolis starting Kyle Allen, who Mitch likes to refer to as America's quarterback. They decided the best way they can deal with facing Kyle Allen is to keep him sitting on the bench, and that's obviously what they did. I think something is. I think New England is improving, and I think they're going to finish the season strong. And I think we'll see. I think we'll see much more from the Patriots next season.
Yeah, it's like he started he started off a little bit slow, but then as the season started, but then he's slowly but surely picking it up. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, I just lost my track on that one. Where was I at? Okay. Let's see. We went through that one. The next one is going to be Atlanta taking on New Orleans. Now, I messed this one up because I switched it out. So I'm going to have Richard start on this one. Atlanta went into New Orleans, another team that won on the road. So it was 31-17. So, Richard, I'm going to let you start off on this one again.
This game was a lot of fun, actually, because it started off kind of crazy where the Falcons turned a couple balls over, and the Saints immediately turned them into 14 points in the first half. But then the Saints gave it right back with a couple of turnovers, and the Falcons scored 2 touchdowns off of those. The Saints the Thorson had a mediocre at best game. Fields was great with 4 touchdowns, over 400 yards. I think the Falcons just kind of overwhelmed them in the second half. Wide receiver Smith there with 155 yards, a touchdown. And I think the Saints season is getting close to being over. So that was a big win for the Falcons. They now can challenge for the division. So that was a pretty impressive win after a pretty terrible start.
Yep, I agree. So we're going to hear from the coach himself. Coach, how would you assess your team?
As I was watching the game early on, I thought it was going to be a disaster. But then I thought, as long as my team survives and manages to put up a couple scores, and I think it helped getting into that period of time in the last 5 minutes where the offense turned it up a bit. And I felt a little bit better about the game at halftime, but I thought, in the second half, my offense would have to actually do something, and the offense was a bit better in the second half, and obviously my team took control more of the game in the second half. So
456 yards of offense is pretty good. That's a good day's work.
Yeah, sometimes a bad start like that doesn't doom you to losing if your team can pull it back together.
I agree. Next game on the list, as we come down to the final 2, Denver went into Seattle, and it looked a little bit bad at the beginning. They were down by 10, but it looks like Seattle found their defense somewhere along the way and won that one 21-10. We're going to start with you, Dean.
Yeah, this is definitely a necessary win for Seattle. The defense was much better. You only gave up 10 points. And you had some pretty good offense as well. Definitely enough to score and get the job done. And it keeps you in the race for a postseason spot, which is still very doable given when you look at the standings in the AFC. I think you still have a chance.
Yeah, no room for error at this point. Richard, so you ran the game. What did you see?
Yeah, this game felt very defensive to me. I think both teams played very well defensively. Offense was not really a big part of this. Trubisky with only 174 yards, Wilson with only 222. So it was just your defense played very well. Denver each week now with the new coach is probably going to depart step by step away from the Broncos team that was winning earlier. So I don't know what to expect from him going forward, but he is starting to put his own mark on the team. And so I don't think it's the same Denver team as it was earlier in the year.
Well,
but
Go ahead.
But I thought both teams played very well defensively. You did shut them down in the second half after a very slow first half where it was 10-0 at halftime. And neither team can kick a field goal. Broncos were 1 of 3. You missed one.
No, that was shanked.
Seattle.
That was a severe shank at the end of the game. Like, where I thought something was wrong with the camera angle. I was like, no, he missed. I'm like, that was a shank.
Yeah. But the bad news for Seattle is linebacker Warner broke a bone. He's out 5 weeks.
Yeah, I know. I will say
it was a big win. It saved your season, though. You basically were clinging to life, and you temporarily have saved your season.
Yes, I'm stepping back from the plank a little bit. I will say this about Denver. I know that the coach is just coming in. He's starting to put his mark onto it, on the team, and he's still getting his feet wet. So yeah, there's going to be a learning curve to it. I think what he'll probably do is go back and look at the previous games to see what was working, and he'll probably use that going forward. I can say that now because I already played him the 2 games this season, so it doesn't matter to me anymore. But he may go back and look at what happened in previous weeks when they had the success when the Headless Horseman was riding, and then using that to go forward.
He also may look at this opportunity to do some different things, not really worrying about making the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true.
Just try to learn the plays and play around with the profile, and he may want to tinker that way. It probably isn't that important for Denver to make the playoffs this year. Yeah,
but I think he's still in the hunt somewhat. I mean, he's still in there the race for a playoff spot. So it's just has some time.
He's in there.
Yep, he's in there.
I don't know if that's most important to him.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he's a new coach who's trying to learn the whole system and the game, and he may want to play around with his plans and profiles and, go that way.
That's true. Okay, as we come up to the last game for this week, and it's another West battle. It is Los Angeles going into Oakland, and Oakland losing that one. Again, another team that lost at home. Lost that one 28-24. We're going to start with you on this one, Dean.
Yeah, I think a few things I take from this game is, one, the Chargers have definitely made a statement here that they're not, out of contention for postseason, and they're still very much competing for it. We generally expect Oakland to play very tough on defense, but they gave up 28 points here. Oakland has often struggled on offense. They scored 24, so this game, I guess in many ways, kind of defies expectations, including not only the kind of score that it resulted in, but the result too. I don't know many of us expected the Chargers to beat the Raiders in this game, but they did.
Yes, I agree. Richard?
I don't know that I expected them to win, but I totally believe Steve has it in him. I think Steve's a very good coach when he's plugged in. This was a fun game. I mean, both teams had 21 first downs. They were both throwing it around. There were 3 different runs in this game where the Chargers scored 14 points to start. Then Oakland scored 24 straight points. Then Chargers got 14 more. This was a fun game. This was a back-and-forth battle. And I think the Raiders had some opportunities late, and they just didn't execute. I mean, they had the ball, I think 2 minutes left. Chargers stopped them. Then the Chargers made a big mistake by not running the clock with 33 seconds left. The game was over. If the Chargers just run the clock, the game is over. Raiders are out of timeouts. What do? They hand it off to Cook. He fumbles. The Raiders get the ball, and they're at the 14-yard line with a chance to win, and the Chargers defense stopped them again. So this was a really fun game. If this was a playoff game, this would be almost a classic game.
Yeah, definitely. I do have a message, though, from Oakland's coach, and he left this message as he sent it in. He said, the quote was, "After going on a 24-point run, I thought I took back control of the game. Then the momentum completely shifted, and we got called for a defensive holding penalty, negating a third down sack in the red zone, and it was all downhill from there.
The league reviewed the penalty, and the player was not him. He deserved the penalty.
Well, you could give him another penalty for talking bad about the play.
He will be fined. He will lose points and possible draft picks.
Take his first round draft pick from him.
The win puts the Chargers one game behind in the division standings, and don't count them out to possibly repeat as AFC West champions. It's very possible.
Yep, as we're coming down to the stretch, most definitely.
We start in the season, the Chargers have been winning a lot lately.
Yep, had a slow start but picked it up. So,
yep, they look good right now.
Yes, indeed. So, as we finish up that first segment of did a quick run through all the games. I hope you guys enjoyed that part. We're going to move into the second segment, and being that we have Richard joining us this week, and we're making that turn around the third curve or third turn of the race, I guess. We're going to take a look at the division standings, where each team sits, and possibilities for the playoffs, wild cards, and division leaders going into the playoff season. So what I want to do is have both of you guys kind of kick it back and forth, and I will sit back, and I think we'll start off with Dean, give Dean's take on it, and then we'll let the man himself talk, because he sees all these games every week, and get his ideas and his personal take on it. So, Dean, we'll let you go ahead and start off on this one. What do you think is going to happen as we're rounding that last curve, heading towards the end of the season?
Well, when I look at the AFC West, Minnesota is really the only team that's probably out of it, and Seattle actually has a chance. Seattle will need to probably win the last 4 games, go 9-7, maybe need a little help. But, some of that help may be possible when you look at the games that Denver and the Chargers and Oakland have left. In the AFC East, it's basically the Jets, and that's it. So the 2 wild cards are going to come in the West. And, yeah, it may well be that Seattle wins the last 4 games and possibly knocks Denver out of the playoffs. I mean, I don't know where the tiebreakers would lie if both of those teams are 9-7. I know that's the kind of thing that James really focuses on when he posts his emails about, looking at the playoff races. On the NFC, looks like 5, maybe 6 teams are still in it, and depending on whether you think, I mean, certainly mathematically the Giants are in it, but they really did need that win against the Redskins this past week. And as to who's going to win the divisions, the teams leading are only leading by a game, so those are left to be decided as well.
Okay, so we're going to hear from the man himself who runs the games. Richard, you've been running the games all season long. Where do you think the league is at right now with the teams? Who has a chance? Who's on the outside looking in? Who's on the bubble?
In the AFC, I think it's pretty much done. I think we have our 4 teams. It's the Jets, it's the Raiders, Chargers, and probably Broncos. While Seattle is still in it, and New England is technically still in it if Seattle's in it, and both of those teams have what I would call easy schedules, I don't know that either team has the ability to run the table. That's not a knock on any of the coaches or teams. It's just it's tough to be 5-7 and then win 4 in a row, because the Seahawks are going to play the Saints, who are not dead, the Pats, who are not dead. So one of you is going to knock off each other, and the Vikings are on the schedule, and the Vikings with Barney, you never know. They pounded the Jets 2 weeks ago, so you just never know. So I think we have our 4 in the AFC. I think that's done. It's just a question of seeding. The Raiders basically have the tiebreak over the Jets. So if they just can pick up a game in these last 4, they will be the number 1 seed. I don't think the Jets are the same as they were last year. I think the Jets are very beatable. I think their defense is very questionable this year. And so I could definitely see Oakland, Los Angeles going to the Super Bowl. So that's the AFC. In the NFC, I think we got 5 teams for 4 spots. I agree with Dean. The Giants really needed that win. I think that loss pretty much finishes them, although they play the Lions and the Pats, which are beatable, and they actually play 2 games with the Falcons, I think, right, Dean? I think that you have back-to-back.
Weeks
So
14 and 15.
yeah, so that's the Giants' season right there. And I don't listen. Could they win a game? Of course they could win a game. But are they going to run the table? The Giants are not going to run the table. I think the Giants are done. I think we're looking at Washington, Atlanta battling for that division. Chicago has got a game up. They're going to win the division. I have no doubt. Justin is going to. His schedule is not easy. He's got the Falcons this week, 49ers, Redskins, Saints, all teams who are in the playoff race. But Justin is a great coach, and even with his 2 quarterbacks out, he will find a way to win at least 2 of those games, if not 3, probably, and win his division. And as for the Redskins schedule is also hard. They've got the Raiders and Cardinals and Jets on their schedule. I think at the end of the day, it's the Cardinals with the 1 seed, Washington with the 2 seed, Falcons 3, and then 4 is up for grabs with the Saints and the 49ers. I don't know. Those 2 teams are very difficult to predict each week. One week San Francisco looks great, and then I've also seen them look like crap. So I don't know who wins that last spot, but I think we've got 3 of the 4 already in, and then 2 teams battling for that last one. So then the Falcons' schedule is other than the Cardinals, is easy, right? You got the Giants twice, you got the Packers. I mean, the Falcons could definitely win at least 2, maybe 3, and really push the Redskins. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting down the stretch.
Okay, so we're basically going to have a dogfight.
Easy, not even the game at Jacksonville. So,
what was that again? Now,
I said nothing this season has been easy, not even the game at Jacksonville. So we can't overlook.
Yeah, none of the games are easy. I mean, on paper, just looking at records, you could say, listen, I don't think beating Minnesota will be easy for anybody. I mean, Barney is a very good coach. I mean, he's just lately. If I were
playing Minnesota this week, I would do the full game planning process that I've been doing. It wouldn't be like, oh, Minnesota's on the schedule to buy. No, I would play Minnesota this week as much as I would be playing Chicago or the Redskins or anyone else. I mean, same thing if I were playing New England or I were playing Seattle again or playing.
Right. Well, that's just it. Anyone can beat anyone. And that's why I don't see teams like Seattle, New England, or anyone, or the Giants running the table. I just don't see it. The teams are too good and they're too plugged in. And I just don't see. I think all those, with all due respect, Mark, I think you should try to finish strong, but I don't think you're going to make the playoffs.
Hey, look, I was able to run the table going backwards in the losing column, so why can't I run the tables in the win column? Well, I can run a table. Just question. The only question is forward or reverse.
Well, will 9 and 7 be enough? I mean, because these other, obviously you're not going to catch Mitch. Mitch is going to win a couple games, and Steve's playing really well lately. And although the Chargers have the Jets on their schedule this week and the Raiders in a couple weeks, so their schedule is not easy. Some of the AFC teams who are in the lead actually have tough schedules down the stretch here. So anything's possible, but if you want to make it, you better win 4 in a row.
Or
9 and 7 would be enough if Denver loses 3 games. I don't know that's going to happen. If Denver loses 2 games, I have no idea where the tiebreakers are.
I don't know where those tiebreakers are. I know for me personally, I know we split with Oakland, won 2 games against LA, split with Denver, and then I have the other game with Minnesota. Minnesota took the first one. So I don't know how that would all factor out if I'm if I've split with everybody, and depending on how everything falls, I guess it would go by points. I don't know. That'd be something that we'd have to look at. But I know that's where I stand with those teams.
Well, you have to sort out your division first. So
Yeah.
if somehow Los Angeles, Denver, Seattle all have 9 wins, if that's possible, you'd have to sort out the division. And right now, you guys are all very close in division. Well, you actually head to head, if as long as you split.
Yeah.
But then the division records are pretty close: 4-2, 4-3, 4-3. And then if you're going to win a bunch of games, so I don't know. It would be a mess if you won 4 in a row. It would be a mess. And Denver actually has a tough schedule too. They got to play. They got to play the Saints, Packers, and Raiders. That's not going to be easy. The Saints and the Raiders are still playoff bound. So I don't know. I think Denver could lose 2 or 3 games here down the stretch, for sure.
Yeah, and you're probably going to be rooting for Oakland this weekend to beat Washington, and that will help you out. Of course, I'm going to be rooting for Oakland. You're probably going to be rooting for Washington to beat Oakland. I'm going to be rooting for the opposite, obviously.
Yes, we'll be cheerleaders for opposite teams. Definitely. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting as we go down the stretch. So, and I will say this season, and I'll ask both of you guys, you've been in this game in this league for a long time. Would you say this is one of the most competitive seasons that you've seen from all the different teams, or is it not as competitive as you thought it would be, or as it has been in the past?
I have to scan my brain for 44 seasons of playoffs. Huh? Listen, we have a very competitive league right now, and I think it's because we have the coaching level is higher. There's no doubt about it. The coaching level is better today than it was in year 1. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. I mean, there are more guys who know how to do it now. And while there still are some guys who are struggling, but you even see like Mox in New England, he started off very slow, but he's slowly starting to get the way it's done. He's putting a competitive product on the field, just like yourself. I mean, you started, it was a little rough in the beginning. Each season that goes by, you get better and better. And that's making for, where coaching is it's closer together. There's not like one, well, there are a couple coaches who you might say are dominant, but there are a bunch of coaches right behind them who are getting closer each season. So that's why you have what you have right now, which is great. That's great for the league. So I actually enjoy that. I enjoy the mess of playoffs like this, where teams are bunched up, making the games more fun for everybody.
And would you agree with that, Dean?
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think I've been talking a lot about this throughout the season here on the show. There's definitely a lot of parity. I've been saying that definitely the bulk of the teams are in that category that, on any given Sunday, or if we play most of our games on Saturday, on any given Saturday, teams can definitely win, and I think we're seeing that. Yes,
most definitely. I agree with that totally. As we come in to wrap that segment up, I do like the way that we've all discussed this and the state of the league at this point. As we are coming up to the last segment, we are looking at the Week 13 games, and this is something that we talked about in the previous segment. So we're going to go ahead and go through the Week 13 games. First one is the Lions going in to play the Giants. They are giving the Giants 6.5. We're going to start with you on this one, Richard.
I like the Giants, and I like the Giants to cover. I know James has already got pro scouts working on the 42 draft. He's checked out. He's done. I'm going to go with Sean winning easily.
Okay. Dean.
I think Sean will be prepared for this game, but I think James is kind of in that mode where he's going to try things. I mean, I certainly would be and have done that when I've been in that situation. So I think the Giants are going to win, but I do not think they're going to cover the spread.
Okay. Next game, we have the Falcons going in to play the Cardinals, and they are giving the Cardinals, that's a high number. They're giving the Cardinals 13.5. We're going to start with you on this one, Richard, then I'm going to get comments from the coach. Go ahead, Richard.
Well, it's a lot of points. I know because I wrote it. I'm going to take the Cardinals, and I'm going to give the points. And it's not because I don't think the Falcons are good, but I need to see the Falcons win a game like this, or to really put some pressure on Justin. Historically speaking, and I think Dean would agree, Justin has had a pretty significant advantage over Dean's teams. I need the Falcons to step up here and show me. So right now, and this is in Chicago, Justin is going to have another, a backup quarterback. I think he's going to be very prepared for this game because he's kind of had it's not a great season for him. It's fine, it's good, but it's not great. He's lost 2 out of his last 4. I think they're going to step up this week and have a big game.
Okay. Coach, what do you have to say coming up this week?
Well, I think I'm going to be cautiously optimistic and think that I have a good chance in this. I think it will be closer than 13.5. I do remember many of our matchups in the past. I remember one season, I believe Justin was coaching Dallas at that point. I think that was the previous time I had Atlanta. And Dallas went up 14. No, I went up 14-0 against them, and then the rest of the game was all Dallas. I think the score ended up being something like 42 or 45-14. So I certainly hope we don't see a repeat of that.
Okay. Next game, Packers going in to play the Saints. They are giving the Saints a 7.5. Dean.
I think the Saints will win and cover this game. I think they're still in the hunt for postseason, and I think they'll step up and win this game and cover the spread.
Are you giving that a lead pipe lock?
No, not going to pull that out this week.
Now, each one of you guys has one you can use, so don't forget to use it. All right, Richard, you're next.
I like the Saints in this game because he's motivated to win, make the playoffs. The Packers, I think the Packers have lost their mojo. Although they've played some very close games, and they're usually competitive, I like the Saints, and I actually think they won't cover, though. I think the Saints will win, but it'll be maybe the Packers will cover late cheap. A late score, and they lose by 6 or something like that. I like the Saints to win this game, though.
Okay. Jets going in to play the Chargers. They are giving the Jets 9.5. Richard, we're going to start with you on this one.
This will be my lead pipe lock of the week.
There it is.
The Chargers will not just cover, they will win the game.
Oh, I did not expect that one, Dean. I did not expect him to say that.
And I should confess. Now, this is something I have inside information on what everyone's doing. I know when teams are preparing. I know when they're not preparing. I know when they're just kind of mailing it in. And I know what's going on with all of them. And I just feel this week the Chargers will win this game. The Jets have not played well all year. Their offense is great. Their defense has been terrible. I think they've given up the most yards in the league, which is ridiculous for a Super Bowl champion and a team that's still 9-3. So I think Chargers will throw the ball well on the Jets, and they will win this game.
Okay, Dean.
Well, that all makes sense, but wouldn't this be the week that the Jets will step up and get their defense back on track and win this game and cover the spread?
No.
We'll see. You're probably right, but I don't know. Just something tells me the Jets are going to step up and take control of this game and win by at least 10.
Okay. Next one. Colts going into San Fran to take on the 49ers. And they are giving the 49ers 10.5. Dean.
I think the 49ers are definitely going to win this game. But as many times as I picked the 49ers to win and cover the spread, and they win and they don't cover the spread, I think that's going to happen. 49ers are going to win, but it's going to be less than that 10.5.
Okay. Richard.
I think the 49ers win this game. And I'm actually I agree with Dean. They normally don't cover. The 49ers do not cover 10.5 points because they're really not an offensive juggernaut. But this week, I think they will cover. I think the Colts are pretty much out of gas. And I think the 49ers are motivated. I think they win by 2 touchdowns.
All right. Jaguars and Patriots. They are giving the Patriots 7.5. Richard.
Obviously, I'll take Patriots. The Jaguars, they've got nothing good's happening for them on the road. I don't think the Patriots will cover. I think this is another one of those close games, 27-24, a late score or something like that, and the Patriots will win, but no cover.
Dean.
I think these two teams are going in the opposite direction, and I think the Patriots will win and they will cover. Matter of fact, I'll make this my lead pipe lock of the week.
There it is. There it is. All right, Mox. You got the lead pipe lock. Don't let him down. Raiders and the Redskins. This is a pick'em game. So it's a toss-up on that one. Dean.
I think that's going to be a very close, hard-fought game, and it is pick'em, and I think the Raiders will come out narrowly winning.
Richard.
The reason this is a pick'em game is because I have no idea. The Redskins, Jerry has been on jury duty for a bunch of weeks. Mitch is in the Smoky Mountains. I have no idea what either team will be doing as far as preparation this week. I'm going to take the Redskins at home close because I have no idea.
Interesting. Seahawks going into Minnesota to play the Vikings. This is another pick'em game. Richard, let's start with you.
Yeah, another tough game for me because Barney's a wild card. He has right now, as we speak, he has a higher ceiling than Seattle. And he can, obviously, with what he did with the Jets, would tell you that he's got a higher ceiling. So I don't know where Barney's at as a coach right now and this late in the season. I am going to take the Seahawks over the Vikings because you have motivation to win this game. I don't think Minnesota does.
Okay. Dean.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I speak as the team that knocked Minnesota out of the playoffs the last 2 seasons, and the reason was motivation. The 2039 season, I needed that win to get in the playoffs. 2040, my team was already out of it, but there was motivation to win that game, and I remember that game. I focused on the defense, and I think that will be the key for the Seahawks this week, and is solid defense. Keep Minnesota from scoring, and Seahawks win.
Yes, indeed, most definitely. Hopefully that defense that was in the second half of last week's game will stick around for another week and can repeat what they did in the second half. But this time, do it the whole game instead of just the second half. So, last game, we have the Broncos going up against the Rams. We're going to have Richard start the last one off.
This is a tough game because I don't know where either team's at mentally. I'm going to take the Rams it's going to be one of those weeks where the Rams play well. I don't know about the Broncos. The Broncos, I think he is departing from the old Broncos, which is fine. So I'm going to pick the Rams to win in a very close game. Last second field goal, maybe.
Dean.
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone in Seattle is rooting for Joshua Dobbs this week. And I think you'll see the Rams pull off the upset here and win this game against Denver.
Okay, last one on the list. So, as we come up to the end of this show, we want to go ahead and tell everyone, or at least for myself, I'm sure the two gentlemen with me would agree, want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And hopefully everyone got the gifts and things that they want underneath the tree, and you guys have a happy, healthy, and safe Christmas. So that is coming up for me. So Richard, you want to have any last words or comments?
Yeah, Merry Christmas to the PNFL and all its coaches. And just remember, there's no breaks. So we're playing right through that Christmas holiday. So keep those plans and profiles coming because we're playing. Good
Okay.
luck to everyone this week.
All right, Dean, what do you have?
I'll just say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone in the league. And since Mitch isn't here to say, I'll say it for him. Let's get it.